Hi guys, James at RampantLionReviews again for you today with another beer review. For this one we are going to return to Poland and we're going to continue on with this Polish craft beer month that I've been doing for you. And if you haven't tried Polish craft beer before, you really need to. The standard of the beers that are coming out of Poland these days is very, very high, so you will find something that you like, I'm sure. But for this one we are going to stick to the Warsaw region of Poland and we're going to try my first beer from Browar Perun. And this is a brewery I've heard very good things about. So today we're having a taste of their oatmeal stout. It's 5.4% and it's called Licho Nie Śpi, which literally means devil never sleeps, so it should be really quite nice. A big thank you to Karl and Matthias, my Polish flatmates' friends, for bringing this beer for me from Poland. Much appreciated, and I hope you guys enjoyed the video. But this was a brewery that was also recommended to me by Pavel at Piwomaniak, and I do have their brown ale to review for you at a later date. But do go and check out Pavel's store if you find yourself in Warsaw. He's got a great selection of Polish things, very nice guy, and I'm sure he will help you out. Check out the Facebook link in the description below and do go and visit him. So I'm very much looking forward to this beer, but as always I'll tell you a little bit about the brewery before we get stuck in. If you do want to just get straight to the tasting, just fast forward. All the usual websites are in the video description below. That's the brewery website, the link to my future reviews that I'll do from Browar Perun. Hopefully there's many more to come. Hopefully I can get some more of their beers, and there's all the usual social media, Facebook, Twitter and Untappd, so please follow me on there. Your support would be much appreciated. If you want to see more beer reviews, do subscribe to the channel, and as always, to those of you watching in Poland, I apologise for any bad Polish pronunciations. As you know, your language is very difficult to pronounce for a non-native speaker, but please do get in touch and let me know some other Polish beers and breweries that you would like me to have a look at. So anyway, to tell you about Browar Perun, so these guys were founded back in 2014, and as I mentioned, they're based primarily in the sort of Warsaw area of Poland. But the company is run by 4 people, so this is Tomasz Mojsje, who is actually the manager and accountant of the company, Adam Sogala, I guess you would say, who is actually the brewer, and there's Tom Grzybowski, who is a former IT engineer, and he deals with most of the PR and marketing work at the brewery, and there's also Iwona Grzybowska, who they're brother and sister of course, but she's a trained economist and apparently does a little bit of everything at the brewery. But the company are based in the Warsaw area, like I said, and like many other Polish breweries, they actually started out as a contract brewery. Now this is the kind of equivalent of the Danish gypsy breweries or the Swedish phantom breweries. They brew most of their beer using other people's spare capacity, and this is quite common actually in Poland, but some of these breweries produce some really awesome stuff, and as I say, I've heard great things about Browar Perun. But they're based in the Mazowian Voivodeship, which is actually a historical region of Poland just to the northeast of Warsaw, and the main city there was actually Płock, so that gives you an idea of kind of exactly where this region is, if you like. But most of their activity is thus centred on Warsaw for the moment, but their beers are spreading to other cities. But they do plan to open up a new brewery in Franciszkowie in Grójec County, which is going to open in the second quarter of 2016. So probably around the time that you're actually going to see this video, they'll just be opening up their new brewery. But up until then, most of their beer was actually brewed at Browar in Konopnicka. But as you may have guessed by the name, Browar Perun, Perun is actually the Slavic god of thunder and lightning, and this is who the brewery is named after. And apparently he's quite a rugged man with a copper beard that runs around in a chariot pulled by a goat buck, and his weapon of choice is an axe or a hammer, and he can throw this at his enemies and it returns to his hand. He actually sounds a bit like a kind of Polish version of Thor actually, although probably Thor speaks a language that isn't quite as crazy. But yeah, it sounds like he's a little bit like a Thor, and my Polish flatmate was also telling me that he's supposed to have 3 faces so he can see in all directions. So I need to go and have a read up a bit more on some of the Slavic mythology. It sounds really quite interesting, but as you can tell, very interesting brewery. They obviously like their mythology as well, and it's, to me, I find it quite interesting. I like the Nordic mythology, so I need to go and read up a bit on some of the Slavic ones. But anyway, that's enough on the brewery. Just to list a few of the other beers you can get from these guys, I'll just tell you the styles because the names are a little bit difficult to pronounce. So there's the APA, I think the Jasny Grom, I'll just go for it actually. But there's the Serci Debu, which is the American Brown. You'll see me review that soon. Nosh Kupali, which is a foreign extra stout. Savavsk Zhivozhnik, which is a German Dunkelweizen. Dubish Malone, which is a smoked rye beer. Orzechowski Gash, which is a brown porter, Licho Nie Śpi, which is this one here, the English oatmeal stout, Browar Perun, which is an amber Weizen, Piwomaniak Perun, I guess you would say, which is a Belgian pale ale, Licho Nie Śpi, which is a double IPA, Zoe, which means like 3 auroras apparently, that's an amber IPA, and there's the Sacrum, which is a Belgian pale ale, and that one has the behemoth symbol on it, of course, a very well-known Polish metal band actually. They produce some really awesome music, but I think there's some sort of collaboration has gone on there. But as you can see, they've got a very big range of styles. If you want to see more about those, as I say, check out the brewery website in the video description below. But anyway, we'll get on to the tasting now, and I will apologise once again for butchering any of those Polish pronunciations that you've just seen in the video. My Polish knowledge is pretty shocking actually, but most Polish people seem to speak very good English these days, and it really is one of the most difficult languages you're going to come across. It sounds nothing like it looks, so I have a big respect for people that actually go and learn Polish as a non-native speaker. It is a very crazy language, but just let you have a little look at the artwork of this one before you open it up. As I mentioned, it is a 5.4% oatmeal stout. You can see Perun's face on the bottle there. You can see he's got a nice kind of hop cone that resembles, or represents I should say, his copper beard. He's also on the bottle cap there, as you can see, but it's really nicely presented actually. This beer actually went out of date just yesterday, but it should still be alright, I'm sure, especially when it's a dark beer. And you can see on here, here's Adam Ksogala's signature just on the bottom of the beer, but very nicely presented. It tells you a little bit about the thing on the side here. And I do actually have the specs of this beer, so I'll just read that out to you before we open it up. So as I said, 5.4% English style oatmeal stout. The name literally translates to the devil never sleeps, and it's hopped with Lunga and Sibylia hops, which I believe are both Polish, and it's got a malt base of Pilsner, oatmeal, Munich and chocolate malts, and the yeast strain is SO4. So as I said, very nicely presented, and it should be a very nice beer. As I say, Pavel told me that this is a very, very good brewery, so I'm really excited to try it and see how we get on here. So let's crack this guy open and we'll get on with the tasting then. So, as you can see, a nice smoky opening there, and this beer actually does smell quite sweet just as you open up the bottle. Really interesting smell. Some nice sweet chocolate and a good bit of bready character as well actually. So that's about 2/3 of the beer out in the glass, so we'll leave it at that for the moment. But yeah, as you can see, this beer has poured a really nice dark, I guess you would say ebony rosewood colour. There's a finger, or just maybe a 2/3 finger of a frothy beigey tan head there, some big bubbles sticking towards the side of the glass, and quite a few little ones just going up towards the bottom of the head there. Looks very, very nice. There's no transparency to this beer at all, of course, but that's probably just because of how dark it is. If I put it in front of the light, there is just a little bit of a ruby edge to it. I guess you're probably not going to be able to see that on the camera, but do shine the beer up to the light if you're trying it for yourself and just take a quick look at that. But you can see the head is just fading away to be a very thin foamy layer now. So let's give it a smell and see how we get on. So without sugaring it up, you know, it actually does smell like your typical stout. There's a little bit of sweet chocolate in there. There's a big bready malt base to it. You can smell some of the oaty characters. There's a bit of earthy and actually quite grassy hop coming out. I found that these Polish hops that are in the beers, they actually smell very similar to the German noble hops, like the Tettnanger and the Hallertau. And I guess since the craft beer industry in Poland is fairly new but very fast growing, we'll start to see more and more varieties of Polish hops actually. So it's a very exciting time to start to get involved in Polish craft beer. But yeah, it smells really nice on the, just as it's still, so we'll sugar it up a little bit and see what else we can get. You should always do this when you're actually trying your beers. So yeah, when you sugar this beer up, you get a lot more in the way of sweet chocolate in there. There's a nice dark roasted malt there. It's actually quite subtle, it just kind of underpins the beer, but it's like a kind of roasted bread crust, and there's a little tiny bit of coffee, but I would say this beer is far more prominent. The aroma has far much more bread than coffee in it, in my opinion. But there's a nice sweet chocolatey aroma in there. It's actually a little bit of a dark chocolate as well. Some sweet kind of toasted caramel brown sugars there. But as I say, the cereally elements and the bready character is really quite prominent. There's a little bit of an earthy hop, and as I said, when you let it settle, you can actually pick up some of the sort of floral and grassy notes that you would normally associate with the likes of German noble hops or even some English hops as well. But it is Polish hops that are actually in this beer. So overall it smells really nice. As I say, take a little bit of time and smell it before you get stuck in, but we're going to try this beer now. So this is the Licho Nie Śpi, which means Devil Never Sleeps, from Browar Perun in Poland. So let's get stuck into this one. Slanje, Nostrovia, Skål, as we would say in Sweden. Yeah, that is actually quite nice. You're going to notice this, it is very, very smooth actually. And this beer, no question with it, it's, as I said, it's 1 day out of date. I just noticed it when I was raking through my cupboard that it went out of date yesterday before I filmed this review. But you know, there's nothing wrong with this. It's been kept in the dark, it's been kept cold, nothing wrong with this beer at all. Yeah, that's really nice actually. The thing is, it's quite, the first thing you're going to notice about this beer is that it is actually very light and really quite sessionable for a stout actually. It does have a little bit of a creamy mouthfeel to it, but it's more oily, and I have to admit I do like stouts that have a little bit of a thicker oily mouthfeel to it, but at the same time they can find that balance and just make themselves quite drinkable, and Browar Perun have definitely done that with this one. But the flavour matches much what you would expect from the aroma really. In the middle of the palate you've got a nice roasted bready malt that comes out in here. The dryness actually builds as you move into the aftertaste, but it's quite a, as you were expecting from the aroma, this is quite a bread centred stout, this one actually, and I do have to admit I enjoy stouts that have the quite cereally and bready character. It makes a good change of pace from the likes of a coffee stout, which is really heavily bitter, or a sweet stout. This one kind of meets somewhere in the middle of those two categories, and it's always good to cross over two things that you like, as I always say. But yeah, the middle of your palate, it's kind of blanketed with just this kind of rye bread character. You can feel that just going over, right over the middle of the tongue. You can get some of the oaty flavours out of this one. They sit right in the middle of the tongue, just towards the back a little bit. You can get some of these kind of roasted oaty flavours coming out of this beer, and it is actually really quite a nice one. This is a nice, quite sessionable, drinkable stout. There's a bit of sweet milky chocolate in there. There's some toasted brown sugars as well, and they just come nicely on top of that almost brown bread malt base that you have in there. As I said, there's a bit of dry and bitter character. There's a very slight hint of coffee, but for me it's more like when you have a fresh baked loaf, if you like, but it's been well fired across the top. That's the sort of roasted flavour that you're getting out of this stout, and it works very well. The flavours in this beer blend together really quite well actually. And you can detect that little bit of kind of oaty or oatmeal-y character in this one. As I said, it sits just in the middle of the tongue, just towards the back a little bit, and it gives the breadiness in this beer a little bit more body. It's very nicely done. Around the edges of the palate, where you'd expect the hops to come out, you can pick up just a little bit of dryness from the earthy side of these hops. As you come further forward, I will say that it does get a little bit more kind of slightly floral and slightly aromatic, just a tiny little bit though. It's more grassy and smooth as you go around the front curve of the tongue there. I mean, as I said, the beer is one day out of date when I'm filming this, but it has been cellared and it shouldn't really be much of a problem. But you can definitely taste the hops haven't dropped out of this beer at all. You've got a nice kind of earthiness in there and a bit of slightly floral, grassy character. I always love it when you've got a nice, just a very nice, smooth, earthy character in these sorts of stout beers. But overall, as I said, the thing that attracts me about this beer is that it almost finds that really fine balance between the sweet stouts and the coffee stouts, and it just brings out a bit more of the bready character, and the oaty flavours come out really nicely. You've got a lot of oatmeal stouts where you can't really taste the oats, but they definitely come out in this one. Just pay attention to that at the very back of your palate. But overall, a big thumbs up to Browar Perun on this one. I'm told by Pavel I told him about this beer, and he said to me that this isn't their best beer that they do, but I mean, if this isn't one of their best ones, they've done a very good job with it, so that says a lot of good things about the brewery, so I will need to try some of their other ones. But we'll have a wee quick look at the mouthfeel of this one now. We'll just put the rest of this in the glass, and as I say, this should be, it is a very nice beer. But let's have a look at the mouthfeel quickly. But yeah, as I said with the mouthfeel, this one is kind of surprisingly light actually. It's quite a light to mid-bodied stout. It leans a bit, it does have a bit of creamy character, but it leans more towards the kind of oily side of things. It is quite sessionable. There's a nice mix of sweetness, a little bit of dry bitter character. The dry bitterness builds into the aftertaste. The breadiness just lingers there, but you get quite a cereally bread character that builds into the aftertaste, and some of those darker roasted characters just start to become more prominent. The hops have a little bit of dryness to them around the front of the curve to the tongue, but around the sides they are quite smooth. But yeah, as I say, overall very nice stout in terms of the flavour, and in terms of the body it's a little bit different. It's a bit more light and a bit more sessionable. Sometimes stouts can be a bit heavy and you can only drink one, but in fairness, if you enjoy the dark style, this is something a bit lighter that I'm sure you will enjoy. So yeah, overall a very good beer from Browar Perun. As I mentioned to you, I do have the American Brown Ale that I'll review for you at some point. That was bought at Piwomaniak in Warsaw. As I say, go and check them out, but you will see me return to Browar Perun in the next 2 weeks or so. So I hope you've enjoyed this review, and do stay tuned for the next one. But in the meantime, go and check out this beer for yourself. As always, let me know in the comment section below your own thoughts on it. Always interesting to hear from you guys that are watching the videos, especially those of you watching in Poland. Please do get in touch and let me know some other beers. I thank you once again for watching my reviews. Until the next time, please like, subscribe, share, all the usual YouTube stuff. Go and check out the Licho Nie Śpi from Browar Perun. It's a little bit hard with these Polish names. A really nice oatmeal stout. Go and check them out, and I will catch you soon with more Polish beer reviews. Go and check out all the social media things, Piwomaniak and some other Polish beers, and do get in touch and let me know. Cheers just now. Go and check out this beer from Browar Perun. Cheers.